Arjun was a boy born in a small village where life was simple but hard. His father was a farmer, his mother worked in the fields, and the family lived with little money. At night, when the village was asleep, Arjun would climb onto the roof of his small mud house and look at the sky. The stars shone like diamonds, and he whispered to himself, "One day, I will fly among those stars." People around him laughed. Neighbors mocked him and said, "Stop dreaming, Arjun. You are a farmer's son. You belong to the soil, not the sky." But Arjun's heart refused to give up. His dream of the stars kept burning like a fire inside him. He loved studying more than anything, especially science. His village school had no proper books, no computers, and sometimes no electricity. Still, Arjun walked 10 kilometers barefoot to borrow books from a library in the nearest town. His father once told him, "Son, we don't have money for higher studies. You should accept your fate." But Arjun replied softly, "Father, maybe we don't have money, but I have dreams. And dreams don't cost anything." His father stayed silent, but deep inside, he admired the courage of his son. At 16, Arjun entered a state-level science competition. For the first time, he traveled outside his village. When he saw airplanes flying in the sky, he promised himself, "One day I will not just sit inside a plane, I will build one." Against all odds, he won the competition. The small prize money allowed him to buy secondhand science books. While others called him the Crazy Star Boy, Arjun accepted the nickname with pride. He studied day and night, hungry to learn, hungry to reach beyond his limits. When he finished high school, he applied for admission to the top engineering college. He failed the entrance exam. Relatives and neighbors shook their heads, saying, "We told you so." Dreams don't fill empty stomachs. For 2 weeks, Arjun stayed in his room, broken and hopeless. But then, one clear night, he stepped outside and looked at the stars. They still shone for him, whispering silently, "Try again." With new courage, he studied harder than before. The next year, he passed the exam and even earned a scholarship. That was his first real victory. Life in the city was not easy. He had no proper clothes and often no food. Many days he drank only water to fill his stomach. But his will was unshaken. He topped his class in physics and aeronautics. His professors noticed his brilliance. One of them told him, "Arjun, you are not just a student. You're a scientist in the making." Those words gave him wings. He worked even harder, believing he was closer to his dream. In his final year of university, Arjun built a model of a low-cost satellite. His work caught the attention of the National Space Research Organization. He was invited to present his project in the capital city. Standing on stage before the nation's top scientists, he felt nervous, his hands trembling. But then he remembered his long nights on the rooftop, looking at the stars. With that memory, his voice grew stronger. He explained his model with passion, his eyes glowing with confidence. When he finished, the audience gave him a standing ovation. That moment changed his life. Arjun was offered a position as a junior scientist. It was the start of something bigger than he ever imagined. Over the years, he worked harder than anyone else in the department. Sleepless nights, endless research, and countless failures did not stop him. Finally, at 28, Arjun led a team that successfully launched a satellite into space. As the rocket lifted and disappeared into the sky, his eyes filled with tears. He whispered, "This is for you, Father. This is for everyone who told me dreams don't come true." The boy who once stared at the stars had now touched them. The world came to know him as Dr. Arjun Sharma, the boy who dreamed beyond the stars. Years later, Arjun returned to his village as a successful scientist. But he didn't come back to show off. He came back with a mission. Using his own savings, he built a school so that other children in the village would not suffer from the lack of education he once faced. Standing before the children, he said, "Never let poverty, failure, or people's words kill your dreams. If a farmer's son can reach the stars, so can you." The children listened with shining eyes, and that night, when they looked at the stars, they too believed that maybe the stars were within their reach. A little boy named Ayan was born in a crowded city where dreams often died before they could grow. His father was a rickshaw driver, and his mother worked as a tailor. Life was hard, money was short, and the family often went to bed hungry. But Ayan was different from other children. While his friends played in the narrow streets, he sat on the roof of his small house every evening and stared at the airplanes flying far above. His eyes followed them with wonder, and his heart whispered, "One day, I will not just watch planes. I will fly them." When he spoke about his dream, people laughed. "You," they mocked. "Your father drives a rickshaw. How can you ever become a pilot?" Even his relatives shook their heads and told him to stop wasting time. But Ayan was stubborn. He kept his dream alive, even when everything around him tried to crush it. At school, he worked harder than everyone else. His notebooks were always full, his eyes always tired, and his clothes often torn, but his spirit was unshaken. He loved science and mathematics and asked endless questions. Sometimes his teachers had no answers, but they admired his hunger for knowledge. Still, Ayan faced problems every day. His parents could barely pay for his education. Many days, he went to school without lunch. At night, when electricity failed, he studied under the streetlights. The neighbors laughed again, calling him the crazy boy who wants to touch the sky. But Ayan smiled to himself. He knew that one day the sky would hear his name. When he finished high school, he dreamed of joining a flying academy. But the fees were far beyond what his family could afford. His father told him gently, "Son, maybe it's time to think of something else. We don't have money for such big dreams." Ayan listened, but refused to give up. He applied for scholarships, wrote letters to institutions, and worked part-time jobs to save money. For 3 years, he faced rejection after rejection. Every no broke him a little, but he remembered the airplanes in the sky and kept trying. One day, his life changed. A local newspaper published a story about a poor boy with a dream of becoming a pilot. The article reached the desk of a retired Air Force officer who was moved by Ayan's determination. The officer arranged a scholarship for him, covering his training fees. For Ayan, it was like someone had opened the gates of heaven. Tears rolled down his cheeks as he held the acceptance letter. He whispered, "This is the first step toward the sky." Training was not easy. Ayan struggled with English instructions, with technical terms, and with the sophisticated lifestyle of his classmates, who came from wealthy families. Some of them laughed at his accent and simple clothes. But Ayan ignored the insults. He worked twice as hard, spending long nights with his books, practicing in the simulator, and asking endless questions to his trainers. Slowly, he began to rise. His instructors noticed his discipline, his focus, and his sharp memory. They encouraged him, saying, "You may not have money, but you have the heart of a real pilot." Years passed. Finally, the day arrived when Ayan sat in the cockpit of a real airplane for his first solo flight. His heart pounded with excitement and fear. As the plane lifted off the ground, he looked down at the city, at the streets where he once studied under the streetlight, at the rooftops where he once watched the sky. His eyes filled with tears. He whispered, "I told you I would fly." Soon, Ayan became a licensed commercial pilot. His name appeared in newspapers again, but this time not as a poor boy with a dream. This time, he was celebrated as the boy who turned his dream into reality. People who once laughed at him now told their children his story. Neighbors who mocked him proudly said they had known him since childhood. But Ayan was not arrogant. He stayed humble, remembering the struggles of his past. He returned to his old neighborhood one day, not in fancy clothes, but in his pilot's uniform. The children gathered around him with wide eyes. He smiled and said, "Don't ever let anyone tell you your dream is too big. If I, the son of a rickshaw driver, can fly planes, then you can achieve anything." His words inspired those children to dream beyond their circumstances. That night, the same old streetlights glowed in the darkness, but this time, they shone on faces full of hope. They no longer laughed at the idea of flying. Instead, they believed that maybe their wings, too, could carry them to the sky. Ayan's journey proved that poverty can test you, society can doubt you, and life can break you. But if you hold on to your dream with faith and hard work, nothing is impossible. He had once been a boy with torn shoes, empty pockets and endless dreams. Now he was a man who touched the sky. His story became a reminder for the world. Dreams don't belong only to the rich. Dreams belong to anyone brave enough to believe in them.